Hey! All right, welcome to the off night. I'm Mark Sweetman. I'm your host. We're here every Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time and Eastern United States. And this is the off night. Normally, Andy introduces us to the show and then brings me on. But Andy told me last night that he would be attending the North Dakota State, Montana State bowl game. So he won't be with us tonight. Or he'll check in with us later on. This is the off night. We've been here. This is, as you can see, oh, wait a minute. I don't have it up there. Hold on, let me bring that up. All right. This is episode number 244. We started this just, I think, a week or two after the pandemic started in 2020. I'm not sure we got an episode in March, but definitely by April 1st, we were up and running. And so this is number 244. And we have a regular cast that meet with us every night. Tonight, so far, we have Jason and Susan. They're two of our regulars. I talked to Sam earlier today. He indicated he'd be here. He sometimes has difficulty getting on. And of course, I just told you Andy is maybe planning to stop by, but not making it a priority tonight. Anyway, so I wanted to show you a few things here. If you wanted to join us on, first of all, everybody says this now. You have to say at the beginning before everybody tunes out. This is our subscribe area. We'd like you to like this particular. Now, I don't see the same thing you see on YouTube. I use an app called StreamYard, which allows everybody who has a camera and a mic on their laptop or phone to join us. And it doesn't cost anything. The only cost is that in the corner there, that duck, that StreamYard duck. Anyway, but to help us on YouTube, please click the like button. Also, you can subscribe to our page. And also, I always have YouTubers telling me on the ones I watch that you can ring a bell and it'll alert you whenever there's an upcoming event, which is these broadcasts that we do. But I've never seen it, so I don't know. You can go ahead and send me notices on YouTube and tell me how to find that particular bell that all the other YouTubers talk about. I just don't know where it is. That is our subscription. If you'd like to make comments on the show, sometimes we will put them on the screen and discuss them. And that's the address right there, that YouTube watch, and then that code, that question mark and the equal sign also have to be in there. And if you'd like to join us, if you have a monitor with a camera and a microphone or a PC or a phone that has those things, and you'd like to join us, there's the link right there under StreamYard.com/ where you'll get into this broadcast. All right. I think that's all the business stuff I have to do. Normally, when Andy's here, he gives us a little update because he has such an interesting life. We always like to talk about how his week has gone. I know he just finished up with his Santa Claus thing. Last week, he did his Santa, I call it the Santa rant. He calls it the important things that people need to know when they bring their kids to Santa Claus. I guess he would argue it's not a rant. It is. But anyway, but he's not here. And so let's go right to our next feature, which is our poet and my bride. Here's Susan Salisbury Sweetman. And it is right there.
Hi.
And she comes to us every week. She takes the news headlines and creates a poem for us. And now it's her turn to shine. So are you ready to take it away?
Yeah. Happy New Year. Oh, I just want to say, you can ring your bell. What, are they stealing my bell?
Who's ringing?
You can ring my bell. What bell? Yeah, I'd like to know what that is available for your for your show.
That bell reminds me. That's got to start coming to the End Club again. I enjoyed when that bell was at the End Club. All right. All right, are you ready to take it over? I'm going to
Sure,
let you take over the
I'll
screen
give
here.
your poem to you. Hi. Here's your poem. In sports, the Lions won. In Detroit, it's all agreed, as the Lions finally clinch the #1 seed. In legal news, the FCC net neutrality case was struck down by the U.S. Court of Appeals in that Cincinnati town. Rudy Giuliani is back in court, his appearance still unkept. He is answering more questions regarding his contempt. Giuliani said he's searching for the jersey. Did he hide it? A pattern of willful defiance to court's orders was cited. Failure to surrender assets for the defamation judgment. You'd think others would be wary to be Trump's little pundit. And that's your poem.
All right. Well, thank you very much. That's always a great poem, and you do such a great job at that. Now, when we last talked to you, it was before you went to or maybe it was while you were in Los Angeles. We were talking about you entering some of your poetry into a competition. Have we heard anything about that yet?
I will know in May, so we can revisit that in May.
All right. Well, I won't bring it up again every week. Yeah. That's all we need is 16 weeks of. I still haven't heard anything.
I'll just say I stepped out of my comfort zone and forced myself to transcribe a lot of handwritten notebook, slips of paper, napkin poems. So
well, it looks like it's
that was good for me to do.
Okay, it looks like this show is going to be another Jason and Mark show. So why don't I bring him on so you can say hi to Jason?
Okay, sure.
All right. Oh, nice, and there he is.
There he is.
Now, is that from Stanley Kubrick's film?
Actually, no, it's a live shot of the Senate counting the electoral votes.
Very funny.
And certifying the election. So I thought I would bring in something as august as we might normally wish to have. And since Sam isn't here, I'm sending an emissary to have him tied to a restraint while Rod McEwen is read to him.
No, there you
go. Because I think we can, you being a professional poet, Susan, I think we can all agree that if you don't actually die and go to hell, being restrained and force-fed Rod McEwen is pretty close to it. It does the job. Does nicely job. Anyway, hey guys, New Year, how's it going?
Going well. Happy New Year. Hey, what didn't make the poem? But yesterday, if you want to talk about the news,
yeah, Biden
signed the Social Security Fairness Act, so that is now law.
What does that cover?
All the people.
So for certain federal workers and people that have their own government pensions and things like that, they were getting reductions of their Social Security, which also translated to like spousal discontinuation of Social Security.
Okay.
And so that's been eliminated, reversed, that sort of thing. I haven't read the act yet. I only saw the headline about an hour ago, so sorry it didn't make the poem, but I think it's a good piece of legislation, and I'm glad Biden signed it.
You see,
now the only way their Social Securities will be reduced is the same way we do it for everybody else, and that is if you make too much money.
Right, right. So should be fair for everybody. You shouldn't be penalized because you have a pension. So
God, a pension, how wonderful.
Or because you worked for like a university or something that was exempt from collecting Social Security
or
from your paychecks, you should not lose Social Security. And certainly if you pass away, your wife shouldn't, or spouse shouldn't be denied your survivor benefits because you were a government employee.
Yeah, no, I never really paid that much attention to Social Security, as I was always expecting to be an AIDS victim and die somewhere in my mid 40s.
Oh,
I like to have a positive. It's an 80s thing. You wouldn't understand.
it's
Um, kind of a bleak outlook, I know, but yeah. And now here I am in my mid 60s, and now all this stuff is important all of a sudden. So
Yeah.
like you say Social Security, I'm like my ears are perking up. I'm all ears. Oh yeah, what's
I know.
going
I used
down?
to think of it all as my monopoly money, my
Yeah,
retirement
exactly.
IRAs and 401ks and things were my monopoly money. But now it's starting to look more real and be important.
yeah.
Well, I'm at the age where I'm just trying to find
What?
some sort of highway overpass near a bookstore so I can freeload on the Wi-Fi.
Yes.
And there's not too much metal in the bridge keeping me from getting the free Wi-Fi while I live in my retirement abode. So it's just yeah, poor planning on my part. I'll be the first to admit, but there you go. So yeah, thank you for the poem, Susan.
You're welcome. Last week, Mark had 2 poems, but apparently he misplaced one of them. So, which is
That
too
was 2
bad.
weeks.
A
That was
good.
2 weeks. That was 2 weeks ago.
It was.
Wasn't that 2 weeks ago? The
It
Christmas poem?
was perhaps, but anyhow, it was the Christmas story poem, which the story takes place on December 23rd, so it would have been perfect. But oh well, yeah, 2 weeks ago. But
the new House Majority Leader. There you go.
I'm sorry. That looks like a Stanley Kubrick film.
It does.
Well, the only difference is the Stanley Kubrick film actually has a happier ending.
On that note, I am going to say goodnight.
Good night, Susan.
If Sam checks in or Andy, tell him I said hello.
We'll do that.
Happy New Year.
Thanks
Back
for the
next
poem.
week with
Appreciate
another
it.
poem.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
You and your bell can just take off. There she goes once again.
You know what? It was Susan. Did you hear some background noise?
Yes, I did.
All right, that must have been what she had going on there. I don't know what was going on. I don't think she realizes that if there's a television anywhere in the room,
right,
that our mics pick it up. So, all right. So anyway,
we're gonna have to build her the $64,000 question security booth. Remember that one?
Yes, the soundproof booth. Yes,
the soundproof, the isolation booth.
The isolation booth,
which I think was later repurposed into a prop on Star Trek, because you got to reuse the old props.
The isolation booth was for that. It was for they had it for the newlywed game because they had to ask the newlyweds questions while their new spouses were. Remember? Yeah. So they were in an isolation booth.
Yeah. Wasn't there one where they used to put on headphones? I can't. I can't remember.
Yeah, Tattletales is the one that comes to mind for headphones.
Sounds like a Bert Convy kind of thing.
It was a Bert Convy show,
and
the headphones were ridiculous. They looked like World War II fighter pilots. You know what
exactly.
I mean? With the ear protection.
Exactly. That was half the fun of the whole affair.
Another show that has the isolation booth is the Family Feud, because in the final round, they have 2 people from the same family, and one has to answer the questions, and then the other one has to answer them, and they can't hear what the first one said. So,
wouldn't it be more
the
fun
isolation booth
instead of a quiz if they just simply had both families out there fighting with knives to the death, or is that a little too dark?
Like the Hatfields and the McCoys?
Something like that. Yeah, exactly. But drawn at random from our studio audience to engage in a knife fight for our amusement. I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's sort of a Chuck Barris sort of idea.
Yeah, it is sort of a Chuck Barris idea.
He did give us the Gong Show. So whatever we can say about Chuck, and we will, how can we ever forget Gene, the dancing machine, J.P. Morgan? Who were some of the other great panelists on that show? It's oh my goodness. Charles Nelson Riley, of course, perennial game show host.
Charles Nelson Riley, everything. I think Tony Randall did a couple rounds of the Gong Show.
Yes.
And JP was it
JP
not
Morgan, wasn't it? But it was like
not,
spelled
what's
differently.
not the JP, not the industrialist JP Morgan,
No.
but the
This was
actress.
the.
The
Is that
actor.
what she was? I never knew.
She was an actress, yeah.
Okay, all right.
And there
Oh,
was, I want to say Charlie Weaver, but I'm mixing it up with the Hollywood Squares. But,
yes. And here's something that I did not remember. I was recently reminded of this. Did you know that Wally Cox died like in 1973?
Did not know that.
I thought it was much later. I thought well, of course, I'm about the same age you are. So I mean, we both grew up with Wally Cox.
Right.
In either the corner square, and he would constantly do that thing where he was answering the previous question like he was in a little bit of a time warp.
Right.
And
well,
also,
I tell you,
yeah.
Well, there was Wally. Well, the most regular ones were Paul Lynde, Charlie Weaver, and Wally Cox. Everybody else sort of rotated, but those three were sort of. I mean, they didn't make every show, but
well, and I did not realize also how lucrative again. Watching a recent documentary on Paul Lynde, he hated being on the show, but he loved the money.
Was it good money?
Yeah, well, Paul Lynde always thought of himself as a serious actor. He always wanted to be taken as a serious actor, and of course, he had great comedic chops. He was the first guy who could pull, in my memory, who could pull gay off without being too gay, who could be gay with still acting like he's the straight dad of the family, even though we were all in on the joke, right?
Yeah, well, all the adults were in on the joke. I mean, it was, when I first saw Paul Lynde, I was still young and impressionable, and I had no idea. But when later on, you watch some of those clips and going, "Oh my God, this is hilarious!" No wonder my parents laughed so hard at this stuff.
Well, I mean, if you were to consult your late mother, she might even admit to a certain amount of confusion as to whether Liberace was, a friend of Dorothy or not.
Oh, everybody. What's funny about what's funny about that is that there were shit. There's not as many people in denial about Trump winning the election or losing the election as there were people that were in denial about Liberace being gay. Oh my God!
I never knew we could make the gay Liberace Trump losing the election connect, but you have made the link.
I have made the link. I have made the link between.
The whole fake Liberace, was he or wasn't he? Did Trump win or lose?
Did Trump win or lose?
We have it now.
It was an insurrection. It was a love fest.
Exactly. It was guys running around in nothing but duct tape and whipped cream, screaming for a policeman. It was so many. The last 4, 8. I will say this. As someone who's gotten really old and boring, I almost would have rather had Hillary win. Now, granted, do I think of Hillary as the spawn of Satan, the wicked witch of the West, Beelzebub herself? And the answer is yes. But
let's just say, hey, how about this? How about we hit middle ground on this? Let's just say she was flawed.
Exactly. But you know what? Let's give the devil her due. There would be order under Hillary Clinton. I mean, are you going to be the guy in the cabinet who disappoints Hillary Clinton? Do you want to come into the Oval Office and tell her that disappointing news? I mean, it's just like a Bond meeting where she's sitting up there stroking a white cat, waiting to push a button to drop you into the Shark Tank as an example to others.
That's what that little narrow space is. Just up at the side of the Oval Office, where Monica and the blue dress made their appearance, because that's probably Hillary would have made it like a gas chamber, and then slowly as the point of view camera looks out at Hillary, she just has that very blank stare on her face as the door as she slowly shuts the door.
I do love the story that has been related by several presidential aides of Bill and Hillary having one of their monumental blow-ups post Monica,
okay.
And Bill emerges from his scourging, and he looks at his staff, who's clearly heard everything, and says, "By the way, that's President MFR to you."
Yeah.
Which again, I miss Bill Clinton. I can't, I can't believe I'm even saying this, because
he almost went before Carter. He was sick around
yes,
Thanksgiving.
yeah,
That would have been
yeah,
that would have been.
I mean, well, Jimmy was kept on life support for how? It's like, I mean, I don't mean to be cruel, but
He
I
was
mean,
not unlike he was at. You know what though? If he had made it to February, he would have been the longest ever in hospice. It
and
would have
yet
been 2 years he was in
and yet
hospice.
Dick Cheney is still alive. Explain this. It's like
Uh,
it's December 1980 and Yoko Ono doesn't even get a powder burn. How? How? I,
These are the things that bother me. Not a lot of things that cross some sea.
well,
I guess I am just a simple man.
exactly. I can admit that our former vice president, current dark overlord of the universe, and denizen of the lowest reaches, former Representative Cheney, and I mean her dad, not although she's not exactly on my favorite list either, but
What did she do?
and she, well, aside from having horrific taste, even for a lesbian,
You
she,
talk about the representative,
yeah,
the former
well,
representative.
they were both representatives at one time or another.
Okay.
That's how Dick was.
First of
They
all,
were.
the one that they all hate now voted with Trump 95% of the time.
Well, you've heard what we say in Chicago. What do we call 99% loyalty? We call that disloyalty.
Oh shit!
That's the way the
Yeah,
Democrats in
Sieg Heil,
Chicago. That's the way
Sieg
the
Heil,
Democrats
motherfucker.
is. That's exactly. That's the way my friends are not my friends. My in-laws, my brothers in-laws are all Chicago Democrats, and these people are pretty hardcore. You don't you, ask Rod Blagojevich how well it goes when a wish is not granted very quickly. I mean, remember
He got
Blagojevich, Democrat
didn't
governor of Illinois.
didn't Trump pardon him too?
Trump
Blagojevich, I
pardoned
think.
him, but it was Obama that put his slimy little back. Now you think you become governor of Illinois, you're going to book time in Club Fed too. I mean, there's just
He tried to sell the Senate seat. I mean,
well, that's what that was the claim. All he said, and all they ever had him say, go back and look, is he said, "Listen, I got this thing that's worth a lot, and I just want to get something for it." He never says that he wants X many dollars into a bank account. Which, by the way, those are the things you have to do to actually be a bride. But the thing is, Obama wanted Valerie Jarrett, and Blagojevich just wanted to get somebody in there and get some political capital. And Obama said, well, you know what? A message needs to be sent because we don't discuss, because looking back, Obama looks like Mr. Inevitable. It looks like everyone around the party surrounded him which is simply not true. The Democrat Party, the infighting is as
Democratic Party.
vicious is as vicious as anything there ever has been. And between 2006 and 2008, it was between the Clinton faction and the Obama faction. And Obama had to let all those other people who haven't quite followed him close enough, you might want to pay attention as to who's in charge now. Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick, who was in Hillary Clinton's camp, because she's like, who's this senator? Nobody, I don't know. I know Hillary. I worked with her as when she was first lady and she was active. People forget Hillary Clinton was an active first lady. She didn't just sit there and host tea parties. She became senator in her own right in the state of New York twice, not once, twice. Not appointed, elected. This is a skilled political operator. Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick lined up behind her, and when her son Kwame got in trouble with the Obama Justice Department, she's on the phone to the Obama Justice Department saying, "Listen, my son," and they're like, "Oh, you're excuse me, Representative. Oh, memory serves, you were actually supporting candidate Clinton. Is that yeah? Click. Hello, hello, hello." Because that's the way parties are run. No one hates Donald Trump more than the Bush faction in the Democrat or in the Republican Party. If you think the Bush family wouldn't book him on Paul Wellstone Airlines as soon as humanly possible, and send him for his Alaskan vacation so he can spend time with Hale Boggs and and what was the other guy who disappeared in their little Alaskan journey? Oh God, Representative Begich, whose son I believe just won either the senator's seat or the representative seat from Alaska. Yeah, because again, that's a place where there's only 2 or 3 families, and they run the whole show. And
didn't Obama's what do you call it? One of his secretaries died in a plane crash over in South Asia.
Wow. Well, his pastry chef died in the pond out back. But whatever. I guess that'll teach you to make the torts a little bit.
Ron was it Ron? Was the Commerce Secretary.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was Carter. Or not Carter. That was Bill Clinton. That was Bill Clinton's secretary.
Oh, was that Bill
and there
Clinton?
was and there was a claim that he was about to testify against the Clintons, and he was this and like, well, first he's got to land in Sarajevo. Oh, hold on. Oops. No, turns out that that just as his plane was approaching final, the ILS blinked off. Who knew? That's the instrument landing system. Yeah, it was in Croatia during the Croat War, a war which, by the way, to Bill Clinton's credit, kept us out of. We got in Kosovo at the very end for just a little bit. So
we're not going to any more wars.
Please, thank you. Can we do that?
I don't think
you and I are in a lockstep agreement.
I don't think we're going to any more wars. I think we would just be wasting bodies.
Yes,
if we did. There are so many other ways to take care of those things other than to send people.
The flower of our youth, as LBJ used to say. In fact, here's a picture of LBJ with Senator Frank Church, just as he grabbed Frank Church by the nuts and tells him how he's going to vote. Because that was just Johnson's way of doing things. Senator Grabby Hand there. And Frank Church was another one. After having, and here, let's go down the conspiracy rabbit hole. I mean, if you can find a way to connect up the whole.
Hold on. I got to check to see if anybody's making any comments.
Oh, okay.
Because once you start going down this conspiracy road, we might get some activity here.
Get some interest. But after Frank Church had seriously the only real investigation into the CIA, again, Democrat led, by Democrat, whatever. He ended up dying of one of the fastest acting cancers anyone ever saw. I don't know if they sent something his way. I don't know. But I find it kind of interesting. He's the one who
pancreatic cancer is the quick and
it's the quick one,
incurable one. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what he ended up with or what, but I mean, he was here and gone pretty damn quick. And our dear friends in the CIA tend to have a way of, well, not that I'm saying that. I would never say anything bad about the CIA in a public forum. You would certainly, nothing that you could ever attribute to me. I think it's one of the greatest organizations America's ever created. And certainly if they were to come in after anyone, it would be coming after you, Mark, not me. Please go after them.
So that picture of Trump you have up is about 30 years old. And even back then, he told his hairstylist, make my hair look like a toupee.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Make hold on. Do you have some pictures of some 80s TV televangelists? Yeah, make it look as fake
make it look like that.
Just as fake and bogus as you can get it. No. Another one, Jim Baker. Who did?
I'm not sure if I want the Jimmy Swaggart or the Jimmy Baker.
Well, at least Jimmy Swaggart was straight. I mean, the women he went afterwards were ugly enough to stop time, but they were women. Whereas Jim Baker was like, well, anything that will slow down for me is good enough. I mean,
Jimmy Baker is the one that came. James Baker was the one that came. Jimmy Baker was the one that came up with the phrase, the homosexual look. Remember, he said that guy.
Oh my God! Yes.
Remember that?
Well,
He said
would
that guy,
know.
the guy in the gym at the club gave him a homosexual look.
God, I've got to get me one of those. It might work out better where I work out at.
I think the only thing I could consider a homosexual look is the one that Carson used to do, where he'd kind of like kiss, purse his lips like he was blowing a kiss. Remember that? That was Carson was the only one that did a homosexual look. And
you know what was funny was I've seen I've seen a ton of Rickles on the Tonight Show. It's all on YouTube, and I love going back and watching them.
Yeah, me too.
All those. The thing is, he talks about like when he was in the Navy or when he was doing theater, and he keeps making allusions to gay people, but he can't say gay.
Right.
And here's a guy who had no problem throwing around all kinds of various insults and whatnot, but he never crossed that line. Although you always got with Rickles, and I think you're so right about this. He actually had a sensitivity to him. You said how he could read a room, how he had sort of an intuitive feel. How far you could go and whatnot, and you could tell that the man off duty was not a prick. He wasn't like Jerry Lewis.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
People.
Well, before they were both gone, Jerry Seinfeld did a Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with both of those guys, and they're both great episodes.
Oh
yeah, you got to go back and YouTube those things, see if you can find them. And in fact, even better, I think they're on Netflix. If you got Netflix, see if you can find the full episodes.
I'll definitely have to do that.
I mean, I think the Jerry, one of them, I can't remember if it was Rickles or Lewis. One of them was a two-parter because he had so much material. They did two of them.
Well, with Rickles, I mean, again, the guy just he had.
There's the gay look right there.
There you go. That's the gay look. That's God.
Oh God.
And again, someone who I don't know. I've heard good and bad, and I suppose anyone who lives their life in Hollywood most of their life, is going to have. There are no angels coming from that section of planet Earth. It don't work that way. But when what's his name? When Freddie DeCordova died, he sends the missus $100,000 check just for here, help you out because I know funerals are expensive. Here's $100,000, and it's like that's actually pretty cool.
That's a nice thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how much money Freddie made. I'm sure he did okay. But, I'm sure at that point, Mrs. DeCordova probably could have used a few extra dollars. If you get the deluxe casket, the one I get is kind of like, you can tell it's sort of a cardboard cutout that someone painted to look like a casket. And they're just kind of wrapping it around me and securing it with zip ties and duct tape. But that's just me projecting. So at any rate, yeah, I think maybe someone with some checkered history, but I think overall probably more good than bad. I mean, you know or knew or have encountered Jay Leno, and yet I've heard bad things like about his former manager when she was in charge of booking the show and whatnot. I've never heard anyone speak ill of Jay Leno.
You know what, Helen, and Susan even knows Helen Kushnick. But she took over her husband's business. It was her husband who was Jay's manager.
Right.
But by the time all that stuff went down that she got involved with, he was gone. But everybody agrees that Jay stuck with her longer than he should have, only as a credit to her husband, her late husband. Yeah. So
out of loyalty, that sort of thing.
Yeah. But we signed I still have. So Susan could probably find it. We got it around here somewhere. I have a contract that Helen Kushnick wrote up for us. That Jay didn't sign it. She signed it. She didn't, but everybody knew she was Jay's guy, so they know that's right. Jay. And it said right on it, you were writing jokes for Jay Leno. But I do have a contract for when I wrote for Jay Leno around here somewhere.
You were running.
It's my show. It's my showbiz memento.
For women back then, in all seriousness, around did they have to just really be tough as nails? Because if you weren't tough as nails, you were going to get run over.
You had to be funny. You had to be. I mean, there were very. Oh, guess who's joined us?
Oh no,
You had
is it
to
Sam?
be a woman back then, and here's somebody who was around back then. So let's bring him out.
Okay.
Here's Andy. Here's Andy.
Hi, Andy.
Hi guys. Hi. Sorry I missed the opening. It's halftime now. North Dakota State is beating Montana State 21-3.
Oh, that's good for you, right? That's your school.
Yeah,
You're the North
yeah.
Dakota guy, right? Okay.
North Dakota.
Oh, there we go. So where are you watching the? Did you go to North Dakota for the game, or are you at the bowl game?
I flew to North Dakota, and they
Uh-huh.
dropped me from a helicopter. It's 21 below zero outside.
I believe that. But
So
all the snow went south of North Dakota, though, so there won't be any snow. Just cold, not any snow.
Oh yeah, it's very cold. So I'll come back. I'll take the train back, and hopefully the herd will be okay. So actually,
You catch that in Fargo, or Minot? Where do you catch that train?
guys, it's the Fargo weather. You know, they still have that train thing, and they run the cattle through, and then you can actually feel the train coming from miles away because it rattles on the tundra. You can
and
actually
it's so
feel
frozen.
it.
It's so frozen. It's like one piece, so it does shake. So.
Exactly. We don't speak. We just say our words and give them the ice that came out. It's like.
Did we lose Jason? I didn't drop Jason. Did I drop you, Jason?
I don't know.
No. Why is Jason hiding behind these pictures?
I'm hiding behind Janet Lee. So would you rather look at Janet Lee in the shower or me? You take your pick.
I think I've expressed my displeasure with that, but I mean, actually, the pictures look better than you do, so I'm going to stop complaining. So.
Well, okay, all right.
Look at the pictures if you want. I can find a way. I think that's me.
So Andy.
Yes.
Last night at the club, you saw my daughters there, and we took pictures. And so now they're showing them to all their friends that they were at they went to see our show, and that Santa Claus was there because you were sitting behind them while we were taking those pictures. So. And from a distance, nobody could tell. You look like Santa at the club.
That's true.
Where are you really?
Right hat on.
Sorry we couldn't stay last night to watch the game with you, but Susan didn't even make it through the game at home. She really had to get to sleep. So
I got you. I know it was a last minute thing. I just thought you drove all the way out. If you drove all the way out there, that you'd watch it there. But I get. It was stunning.
Who's got the frickin' baby?
I don't know. I mean, this is an empty house.
Oh,
I'm the only guy looking at the North Dakota game. That's basically it.
So I guess all the Minnesota fans are crying in their beer at another place, right?
Yeah.
They had a child.
Now don't the Minnesota Gophers have a game this week too? Sometime? I think they got a. Or was that this weekend?
They might have one. I think I think this is like the last week for any sort of. There's only 3 more left. I think. There's the.
Hold on. Let me look at my sports app and see what's going to get there.
North Dakota. I mean, Notre Dame is versus Penn State. Ohio State is versus Texas.
Yeah, those now the games finally mean something. You know what I mean? Those other 8 games to get to this point were worthless. All right, what do we got here? Okay, hold on. College. Come on, get me college. I need to see some. Oh, is that Marsha Brady? Who is that?
Sally Kellerman.
That's Sutherland.
Sally Kellerman.
Yeah,
Sally Kellerman.
From Star Trek.
She was in one of the first episodes of Star Trek.
Yep, and again, another one of those ladies who just had the most. Not only was she beautiful, and she was, but she had a voice that was just like listening to honey in your ear.
Yeah.
And a better actress than she. Sometimes I think if you're really beautiful, they assume you're a good actress. Not necessarily, but in her case, she was lucky. She got the ticket punched for both.
Yeah, she's good.
Now she used when Now, when I was out, I don't know if when you were out there, Andy, but when I was out there, she was at the Improv a lot. She tried stand up. Oh, but she liked the comedy. She liked the Laugh Factory better than the Improv. So.
Really?
But we would see her at the Improv once in a while. Yeah, there were a lot of actors and actresses that tried to do comedy just to be seen and just hoping they'd be talked about, in the gossip and everything.
Yeah.
There were two, Eve Plum and Susan Olsen.
I remember Susan Olsen doing stand-up.
Yeah. She went MAGA. And
yeah. What do you want me to say?
And Eve Plum, Tim Slagle, and I, the three of us, did the town out in Hollywood one time. God, what a memorable night. Now, if you can imagine this, we were at the Comedy Store, and we sat at Milton Berle's table. So, and I could not tell you who any of the other people were. I just knew it was me, Tim, Eve Plum, and Milton Berle all sitting together at the same table.
Wow.
I love. See, now my stories aren't as involved and as personal as Sam's are. But I just have these sort of brushes with fame type of thing,
Well, I mean, anyone who's been touched by Kim Basinger does get a special place. I mean, you win. You won that hand. I mean, why Alex?
Who got touched by Kim Basinger?
Yeah, Sam did. That was a story. I don't know if you were with us or on your hiatus at the time, but he was talking about how he met Kim Basinger during one of his performances, and she came up after the show and touched him on the shoulder and congratulated him on being funny, and he's like, "You're the prettiest, smiling, beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Please just stand right there for another moment or two." And
got it.
Easy enough sort of thing. I mean, what can you say? It's not like you were approached by, I don't know, Grace Jones after she won a mud wrestling tournament.
Yeah. Well, those are things.
I would have been excited. Had Grace Jones approached me, I would have been terrified and excited all at the same time. Because she's Grace Jones. And does that mean she wins? And the answer is yep, she does. Every time.
Grace Jones. Wow, that's cool.
All right, the college Minnesota team, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, played Friday night and did much better than the Minnesota Vikings. They the Golden Gophers beat Virginia Tech 24-10 Friday night. So
wow, good.
I knew it was after New Year's Day, but I couldn't remember whether they played yet or not.
And as for the Lions, I can't believe how well their defense did. That was just absolutely impressive.
I tell you what, Aaron Glenn's going to get a head coaching job out of that game. I mean, that was just, to me, that was a coaching win for sure.
Yeah, he studied the psychology of the quarterback and found out what his weakness was.
Isn't that amazing? That just, I mean, that is like, and they. To me, who is another unsung hero in this day and age are the guys who do the video, because when they come in Monday morning after a Sunday game, they're looking. They don't even, the guys get a day of rest, but the coaches are there looking at all the films.
Oh yeah,
and it's those video coaches. Those video coaches, they don't have time to go through 3 hours in isolation and rewatching of your game, and then watch 3 hours of the game of the people you're going to play next, plus all the stuff that they've been doing during the season. It's those coaches that do the video run that throw those packages together for those guys.
Oh, wow.
I mean, because if you think about it, it's, the coaches don't have time to go through the editing machines. All right, save that clip. They give instructions as to what they're looking for from the other team. And so then the video editors have to go through and put together these videotape packages for them to review on Monday morning.
That makes sense. It's like,
and that's how. And the thing is now, because one team started doing it, and I think it was New England that did it. And of course, New England has the 6 Super Bowls to prove it. It's not a bad plan. But now everybody does it just because, you know, once one team does it, you got to get that video team on your side, you know.
Wow. I got it.
CBS Morning News this morning did a thing on, they took two of their reporters and they went to the Jets training facility. And I'm sure it wasn't recorded yesterday or the day before. It looks like something that they probably did in the off season or something. But they, because there were no players there, they were just talking to coaches. And they were basically showing them, you know, this is a profession, and these guys put in at least 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and sometimes 6. They do give them a day off, unless they play a Sunday night game and then they play Thanksgiving. Then you don't get a day off. But who's on our screen now, Jason?
That's Bruce Dern.
Oh yeah, that sure is
Bruce Dern.
From his Simple.
Yeah, did you see him in Nebraska?
No, I saw him in
yes.
Silent Running.
That movie, Nebraska's fantastic. It speaks my whole, you know, age from age 5 to age 10, going to my relative's house. You know, just sitting around watching TV, not saying a word.
I've never heard of this movie. When did it come out?
Nebraska?
Oh,
it's got Fred Armisen. Is that the one with Fred Armisen? Oh no, not Fred Armisen. It's the other Saturday Night Live guy. MacGruber. The MacGruber guy. Who's the MacGruber guy?
Oh, he was in there, but also Better Call Saul was in there.
Who?
In that movie.
Odenkirk?
The guy who played Better Call Saul.
Oh,
Odenkirk?
Bob Odenkirk.
Odenkirk. He's also in the movie. It's a great movie. It's and actually I think Jordan was nominated for it as not as the main guy, but as the supporting actor.
And here we have a picture of myself working the senior ride. Andy will know what that means.
It won the Cannes best. He won that. Bruce Dern won the Cannes Award, Best Actor.
Well, did you see him in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he plays the owner of the Spawn?
The old man, yeah, he was great.
I still have not seen that. I still have not seen that film.
You know, at first I didn't get it because of the way it ended, and then I referenced the title, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I realized it's a fable. That he's taking real events and he's making a fable with it.
Yeah.
And then it made sense. Then I understood it and whatnot. But it is so incredible. Even if you don't like the movie, just looking at it. It's like an episode of Yellowstone. I don't even like the plot lines in Yellowstone, but it's just so damn pretty to look at. How can you turn away? You know, I mean, it's that good.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's really well, and the time period. You know, I say people just say that entire movie was just a time capsule of that 1970s era.
Well, who directed it? Do you know? Because I think I might want to.
Are you talking about Nebraska? Or are we talking about Once Upon a
Nebraska?
Oh, I believe that was Payne. I think it was Alexander Payne.
Okay.
We're gonna find out here in a second because I got the cast list up here. Show more. Where's our director? Okay. I'm on Wikipedia. Nebraska. My slow as molasses phone. Okay, here we go. Alexander, directed by Alexander Payne.
We've got to build you a total media center there at the house, Mark. Someplace where you can sit in something that looks like a recreation of the Star Trek Enterprise with you sort of like sitting there, sole command in a captain's chair.
They actually do sell the commander's chair if you want to get one.
Oh, you know, I would laugh, but I would actually buy one. I would insist on being buried in it. Actually, that would yeah, I like that. Oh dear. Oh, so yeah. At any rate,
Anyway, so now all this talk about you had to rest players and all that stuff is bunk now, and it turns out Dan Campbell was right. So there you go.
Well, I get the impression from Dan Campbell that the man couldn't microwave a slice of pizza, but he knows football. You know, he knows football like at a fundamental, at a microscopic, at an atomized level. He knows football.
Can I give you my hero? My hero in this whole thing is still Sheila Ford Hemp. Because,
yeah, me too.
Because
me too.
Now, his first season, he was 3-13.
Yep.
And they started his second season, he was 1-7.
Yep.
So he was 4-20, and everybody was calling for their heads.
Yep.
And she had that press conference, and she said, "This is the plan. We're sticking with it."
Yep.
And since then, they are 30-5.
Nice.
Except if you don't count the playoff games. If the playoff games are 32-6. But I mean, that press conference when he had the worst record ever for a coach starting out, and she said, "Nope, he's doing just what he said he was going to do, and this is what I knew was going to happen, and this is the plan all along. Trust us." And everybody, all the sports reporters, poo-pooed him and blah blah blah. What does she know about football? And it turns out she knew what she was talking about, because here we are.
Yeah, she was the one that should be getting an award. For,
and
turning the whole thing around.
And the reason I was thinking about that, I was discussing it with somebody today, because New England fired their coach today.
Yes, they did. After one season, I think it was.
After one season, and he had the same, and he might have had more wins than Dan Campbell had his first season.
Well, my understanding of this is one of the reasons why he got canned today was by winning yesterday, he blew their chances at the #1 draft pick. So I think maybe there was like, listen, coach, that was a game you should have let go. Because now they're not getting the #1 draft pick. I could be wrong, because you're not supposed to tank, but you tell me. Because obviously New England needs some talent. And
but you know what? I say that's bullshit, because you look at, since they hired Brad Holmes to be their general manager and run the drafts, they've gotten picks as far as 6th round. And that's so true. when you're picking in the 6th round, you're talking about that 200 players were picked before that guy.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's how you pick. And when they bring people, this is something we talked about a little bit on the broadcast last night, but locally it's been talked about, and that is, they didn't build a team on X's and O's. They built a team on culture. And that what they wanted to do was, when they brought people in, and when they traded for people, and when they interview these guys before the draft at the combine, they don't care about how skilled they are. They're not looking at their numbers. They want to meet the type of people they are.
Right. But you look at Brock Purdy, the quarterback for San Francisco, who's also Mr. Irrelevant, last guy taken in the draft.
Last guy taken in the draft. Well, Tom Brady was one of the last
number
guys
6.
taken.
Yeah, he's in the 6th round.
Yeah.
So it does give some credence there. And if Sheila Ford, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure you will, isn't she her birth name Firestone? Isn't she from the
her mother was a Firestone. It was a Ford. Okay. Her father's a Ford. Her mother's a Firestone.
There was an interesting interview with Sheila, and what she had said, what they were looking for in team is character.
Right.
They didn't care much about how well they did, but looking for character.
Obviously, she knows what she's doing. I mean, you look at all the bumbling idiots who were in charge of the team for decades before, and you put it in her hands, and now we're whining because we might have had our 3rd loss in the season. How many times we would have seen the 3rd loss in the season in late September?
Exactly. Well, and we had here's another difference too. We had Billy Sims, Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford. All of these guys are going to be Hall of Famers, right?
Yep.
But the thing is, we may not have a Hall of Famer on this team, but it's the whole team that plays. And I think
That's the way to remember the bad boys in the Pistons. We had a lot of great talent, not a lot of Hall of Fame talent, but they played as a Chuck Daly had that team playing as a team.
Right.
I mean, Mark, you're a basketball guy. You remember how Chuck Daly used to run his operation.
Yeah.
He was almost the John Madden of basketball, except with much better suits. Much better
He
suits.
he was I think he was the only coach in the NBA that never coached in college. He went from high school to an assistant's job in the NBA, but that was back when the NBA was young and it wasn't as big of a deal as it was.
Yeah.
He got in as an assistant in the NBA before what they consider the Mount Sinai bringing down the tablets moment where
Right.
Magic Johnson and Larry Bird came into the league at the same time.
That was when oh God, remember that college game where those two played in the NCAA finals, and the whole damn country came to a halt. Michigan
Wow,
State.
Montana is just blowing it.
Michigan State against Indiana State, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I remember because I was there.
Oh, really?
My high school team, that was 19. No, I wasn't there. I'm
78,
thinking of the high
77?
school. I'm thinking of the high school championships at the 1977 Michigan State high school championships. My school made it all the way to the semifinals, and part of making it to the semifinals was if you didn't play in the finals, you still got to attend the game. It was at that time. They play them up at Breslin Center now, Michigan State, but in those days they played it at Chrysler at U of M. And so we got to sit behind Magic Johnson's Everett High School bench and saw the game. And we knew he was ready to go pro even in high school, but he did 2 years at Michigan State. So
back then you kind of had to. Nowadays you can go straight out. And nowadays, with high school students being paid millions of dollars to play college football, I would argue it's only a matter of time before we just have full-blown professional teams in what was formerly the college sort of age range. I mean, why else? Do you want to go to any of these schools and get your useless degree in telecommunications, or do you want to start playing pro as an 18-year-old and have a 7-figure payday? And not worry about going to class. I think it's a pretty easy calculation. It might not necessarily be the right calculation, but let's face it, if you're 18 or 19 years old and someone opens a giant treasure chest full of money on top of the other treasure chest full of money, it's just, geez, it's hard to say.
Well, I'm kind of like, can't you pay your tuition from your you know, you fail, you can always go back and go to college. Have the money, you know?
Yeah, that's right. No, and it's not like our universities don't make money off the play of these students. They do, or they wouldn't do what they do. I mean, they've been making money. Oh, here's a good one. One of my personal favorites there. Barbara Bain and Martin Landau, Space 1999. Come on, Andy. Tell me you weren't watching back in the day.
Oh, I used to watch it on Channel 9.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. That was great. The first season was so British and so good. And the second season sucked because they tried to make it for Americans, and it was awful. But whatever.
Yeah.
So I can hear the music.
Well, I don't know if Andy can hear the music, but that's our outro music heading up here. So I just want to thank everybody. I'll check in on Sin, make sure he's okay. We'll get him to make a note on the time. I did talk to him today, so I know his surgery went well yesterday. He's going into physical therapy, which is scheduled to be completed within 3 weeks. They gave him, I think they're planning in 3 weeks. That's what the insurance company gave him, and that's he's done sooner than that. God bless him. So hopefully we'll have him back next week. I expect to see Jason, Andy, and Susan back next week. So thanks for joining us all. We're here every Monday night. Let me go back to my banners here. Go ahead, like us. You can like this particular video, and that helps our logarithm. But then go to the page, which is on the Off Night YouTube page, and go ahead and subscribe. Then you'll get a notice anytime. And I don't make the show notices before that day. So it's not like you're going to get something on Friday and have to remember Monday. You'll get it on Monday afternoon sometime, just like these guys do. Anyway, that's our show for tonight. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see you again next Monday.
All right. See you, Andy. See you, Mark.